What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Links and Locks podcast, our best bets edition. I'm Jason Sobel from Golf Bet. He is Ben Everill from the PGA Tour. We're going to go through, play 18 holes, make 18 bets, our favorite plays for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge at beautiful Colonial Country Club. Before we get there, Benny, let's review a little bit of what we saw from last week, other than cold blackjack tables and at least some lukewarm beer that were served at them. That part of it was not great. The rest of the week was pretty good, though. Justin Thomas gets his second career major championship.
Oh, man, incredible stuff. I mean, I was one of many, and you included, I think, that thought that JT might not quite have a hot enough putter to essentially get the job done last week. But boy, did he just come home strong. And he missed some of those putts too, and able to get it. You know, you could get, I think, between 250 and 300 to 1 on him when he hit a shank on the 6th tee Sunday.
Wow.
And then he goes on and wins the tournament. Unbelievable stuff. More power to him. It shows keep your resilience, keep in the game, and you never know what could happen.
Yeah, great stuff from JT. He is an absolute stud. That's my biggest takeaway. Other takeaways, Will Zalatoris is going to get back here again. I know a lot of people are like, well, that putter, it's not great. Look, here's the way I look at it. He's not going to become a worse putter. All he's got to do is make half more putt, improve by half a putt per round. And he's got 2 majors and a win at Torrey Pines already in his young career. He's getting there. It's coming very soon. He's a world-class ball striker. It's going to happen for Zalatoris, and it's not going to take very much longer. And you feel bad for Mito, but you know what? I will say, Benny, I like the strategy. You've played 3 practice rounds. You played 3 competitive rounds to get onto the 72nd hole and go, you know what? I haven't hit 3-wood here before, but let's try that. Just because I'm leading and I want to be really conservative. I don't like that play. I want be aggressive. You know, look, if he had taken a 3-wood and gotten himself into trouble somehow and then made a bogey, got into the playoff and lost, we'd be ripping him right now for playing conservative with a lead. Instead, he plays aggressively and he's getting ripped for playing aggressively when he had a lead. I'd rather lose when being aggressive than lose when being conservative. So again, fair play to Mito for that. And I thought Southern Hills is fantastic. A Perry Maxwell design. And if there's any little clues, breadcrumbs dropped from last week to this week, it's that we go to another Perry Maxwell design this week. Jordan Spieth called Southern Hills Colonial on steroids. So I guess Colonial now, looking at it in the other reverse way, it's Southern Hills off the steroids. And so it's a pared down Southern. We don't need our lineups this week to look like football teams. Our cards look like football teams. So you're first on the tee, Benny, as always. Play away. And what you got?
Well, mate, you've segued me brilliantly into the first of my 2 outright choices, Will Zalatoris.
There you go.
I think that Will can, in fact, shake off what happened, can find a way to go have another big week. He leads the tour in strokes gained approach and strokes gained tee to green. It's the exact type of course for him. He have a little gas taken out of the tank, no doubt, but he'll also have fire in the belly for, being so near yet so far. Plus 2,000. I'm not afraid of it. I think that, as you said, it's just going to take a week where 2 or 3 of the putts that he may miss most weeks go in. And then he's going to be there. Look, I've watched guys like this my whole career. He just reminds me of Adam Scott. Yeah. Like just pure bang, bang, bang. And the weeks where Adam Scott putted half decent, not even just in the top 25% of the field, he was finished in the top 5 every time. So that's all we need from Zal. And I think he can back up.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. My usual play on post-major weeks is to fade anybody that was in serious contention at the major the previous week, just because, like I said, there's a lot of physical and mental energy that has been exhausted for those guys that were in serious contention. That said, Will Zalatoris is 25 years old. He looked like
Correct.
He was playing a Tuesday morning practice round when he was in that playoff with JT. Just like looks like he's having fun, just hanging out, play some golf, no big deal. And so I do like Zalatoris this week. I'm not going to go as big as you, but I found a really nice matchup that I like, and I'll play it for the second hole. Will Zalatoris at even money over Victor Hovland, who shouldn't be a good course fit for Colonial this week and is not playing his best golf right now. I love Zalatoris at that number.
Nice, mate. Yeah, pretty good there. Now, look, I'll go to hole 3 and I'll do the exact opposite of basically what I've just done and feed into what you just also said about fading guys that have a big week. I'm not saying go gung-ho on this. I'm just saying here's a little opportunity if you feel inclined. But Justin Thomas to miss the cut is plus 650.
Wow.
Now, he is a guy that obviously could win this tournament this week, clearly. But he also could have been having a pretty big time the last few days. And he also might be just on a real big high and that just going to go out there and see what happens Thursday, Friday, right? Now, he's so talented. He could be 3 shots in the lead after Thursday. But 650, you don't see that often. Off the emotional high and roller coaster to miss the cut. I think that's just worth having a little look-see.
It's a big number. I like it after a big number like that. I will point out, Ben, only 120 players in the field this week. It's an invitational, not 156. Correct. So a lot less of a chance for a player like that to miss the cut. Still, why not? At a big number, give it a shot. Okay. Hole number 4, I'm going to go with another top 5 player in the world. A guy that didn't play great last week, but the ball striking numbers got pretty good on the weekend. He's shown a propensity in his young career for playing well at Colonial. It's one of the game's best ball strikers. I think everyone's going to be talking about Thomas and Zalatoris coming off that playoff last week and what they can do this week at a ball strikers golf course. But don't forget about Collin Morikawa. I will take him for a top 5 at plus 140 this week.
Yeah, look, anytime there's a ball striking course, and especially with him under the radar, like you said, absolutely someone to keep an eye on. Okay, look, I was thinking about our man Scottie Scheffler who missed the cut last week and thinking, how do I get him in? You know, he's an option potentially for error, but I think that if you want to sort of get a number on him that has any sort of value, I was looking at him in the first round leader market, you know, okay. 20, 30 to 1. He's playing in the morning. Might not be released yet, but that's to come. And so is Sam Burns, 3,500, first round leader.
I like Burns.
They're my 2 first round leader options at this stage. Scheffler, Burns. Just because I want to see how Sheff rebounds. I want to see his attitude and how he goes in front of that Texas crowd. And I think he's too short in the outright to begin. So I don't know. Let's see how he goes in that first round.
All right. I like that. I am looking at going to the 6th hole. I'm looking at a bunch of guys that are in the 50 to 65 to 1 range. I think that mid tier, right, the smack dab middle of the mid tier this week is a nice range to play. There are a few different guys I like here. Let's see. Other players I didn't really mention. Woodland. I didn't mention Kevin Na, although I could. But I'm going to go with the guy that played really well. I talk about under the radar last week. If someone asked you right now, hey, list got everyone who's in the top 5 at the PGA Championship. It just ended 2 days ago. You go, okay, well, there's Thomas and Zalatoris and Mito and, Tommy Fleetwood was right there and Matt Fitzpatrick. And that was probably Chris Kirk finished T5 last week. And I'm not sure I ever saw a golf shot from him, very honestly. Chris Kirk was as under the radar for a top 5 in a major as you could get. He's played well at Colonial in the past champion here. I will play him for a top 10 at plus 450.
Yeah, love it. Mate, you just mentioned one. I'll go to hole 7, a name you just mentioned. I'm thinking a top 10 play could be Gary Woodland. Top 15 the last 2 times he's played at the Charles Schwab Challenge. I think it's plus 400 for a top 10. I am one of the people who doesn't like to get on him for wins. I don't know that he's going to be able to close the deal there on Sunday at the moment until I see him do it again, or at least really push hard to do it again. I like to sort of look at that 10 and top 5 with Woodland, and just looked like a decent number to me, 400 for top 10.
Yeah, I think that's a nice play there. I'm going to go down to top 20 for the 8th hole. Guy that I always like for high floor bets, because that's essentially what he's shown to be over the last 2 years or so. But Maverick McNealy actually has finished outside the top 20, and I believe his last 4 starts. Hasn't been great, but hasn't been awful either. And he's shown a propensity for moving up for figuring out Colonial. Colonial is a place where experience matters, usually in your first time here. And I'm sorry to the Tommy Fleetwood backers to the Davis Riley backers. You might like a couple of those guys, Benny, but they're playing for Colonial, this event for the first time. Usually it takes a little while to figure this place out. Maverick McNealy has gone from 42nd to 32nd to 20th in 3 starts. I like him for another top 20 at plus 250 this week.
Oh, mate, you are segueing me brilliantly into some of my picks.
Love it.
But you just mentioned, you need some experience around the joint. So the 9th hole, I'm going to give you sort of a long shot, someone to take across the board. And I think top 10 plus all might be the play here. The last 19 winners at the Charles Schwab Challenge have had an average age of 36 and at least 6 starts at Colonial. Last year, Jason Kokrak was exactly just after his 36th birthday in his 6th start.
Ooh.
This year, if you want to look for someone who might fit the bill, we have Patton Kizzire, age 36, in his 7th appearance, T3 last time, which is exactly the finish that Kokrak had the year before he won the tournament. So Patton Kizzire, you can get 150 to 1 he wins, 25 to 1 that he's top 10, 11 to 1 top 5, 450 for top 20. Patton Kizzire fits everything that this tournament has trended towards. And so just on that alone, it's one of the easiest tournaments to trend, if you will, to see a trend. Yeah. He is the guy that fits it. So there's my news for you, that Patton Kizzire, I don't know, and look, forget form or whatever, as I said, sometimes when it comes to this tournament, except for at this tournament, like this is just one of those tracks that there are horses for courses. So Patton Kizzire, check it out across the board, sprinkle whatever you like. But the 1100 at top 10 was sort of where I sort of centered myself.
2 things on Patton Kizzire. First one, I saw him at the range early last week and he started talking hockey with me. I go, I didn't know you were a big hockey guy. And let's just say he might have been looking at hockey games for reasons other than just being a massive Pucks fan. Secondly, he got a lot of notoriety, a lot of attention last week for being very critical of Southern Hills and the course setup. I'm told that he went to the powers that be, fell on his sword afterward and said, I was wrong, my fault, it's my bad. I was just very frustrated. And so I know a lot of people on social media saw that and they were being very critical of Kizzire's criticisms, but he did, like I said, he mea culpa that one out. So let's get to, before we get to the turn, you and I are going to grab a hot dog and a quick beverage, but first tell us about PGA Tour Pick'em Live, as you do here on the pod every week.
Yeah, mate, free to play game on their PGA Tour Pick'em Live, where you grab your long shots, you throw them in for top 10, top 20, outright win, and try to ride them home. As if you were riding on a bet. The score points are scored, and by the end of the tournament, you might win up to part of the $5,000 prize pool. And we sort of stretched out the money too. More people win now, the more chances to get cash. And look, the guy that got JT, by the way, last week at the PGA, he did get on him at 300 to 1 during that final round. And then watched it ride home, and he was cheering the thing home.
I hope he got some real money on that one as well.
That is, and by the way, every time that you do make a change, obviously during the game, you do get that option. The pop-up box of if you'd like to put $5 on this at PointsBet, go for your life. Had he done that, I think he'd be even more happy. But he obviously got his cash without any outlay, and that's the beauty of PGA Tour Pick'em Live. So you go for those long shots. Why I always pick mine at the turn? Patton Kizzire, absolute genius. There's quite a few blokes in that 65, 75 to 1 range that you mentioned. You can get your Woodland there. There's a guy that I'll mention in my next hole out of the turn. So keep listening on and just go for the value in those early picks.
Yep. There's definitely some value out there this week. All right. As we make the turn, we get to the 10th tee. It is my honor, and I will go with a first round leader play. Look, we're coming off a major championship. There's some deep brain thinking here. We're coming off a major championship. Players are going to be practicing maybe as much as they would, working on their games maybe as much as they would, although they always do impress me, Benny. We always have this narrative of like, they're coming off a major. A lot of guys are went through sectional qualifying on Monday for the U.S. Open. They're playing 36 holes. They're tired afterwards. That they're not going to, these guys actually impress me with how much they do work. They'll be back out there 6 a.m. the next day, grinding away at the range. But just in case, maybe everyone's kind of taking a few days of like rest and recuperation going into it. I want a guy for the first round leader who knows this golf course better than anybody else. How about a member of the golf course who's played here 18 times in the past? Ryan Palmer, first round leader, 55-1.
55.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I've changed mine from
number.
earlier. I'm jumping on with you. I don't know if he's in the morning or afternoon yet. So I'll have to have a look at that. But look, either way, actually, he could put up a number at any time. You're right. He's got all the experience. He's had some great weeks this year. I can't find anything wrong with that at all, unless there's some sort of wind factor or something that I haven't seen yet.
There's supposed to be some wind this week, so I'd pay attention to it. Last week we got a little fooled because on Friday, of course, the wind was stronger in the morning than the afternoon. That's usually the opposite of that. So you want to look and see not just if there's wind, but when the wind is going to blow more. But usually, especially in Texas, we see the morning to be calmer than the afternoon.
100. All right, 11th hole for me. It's funny you just mentioned the sectional qualifying or whatever in Texas. I'm going to ride a hot hand there for a top 40, to be honest. Forget the fatigue factor. I think he's going to be on an absolute high, and I've seen some good things out of him every so often. But top 40 plus 250, Kirk Kitayama. Kirk Kitayama was the absolute leader, -11 medalist for the US Open qualifying, plus 250 on a guy with a hot streak and a hot hand and with a good feeling. I'll take it.
I'm holding up my notes right now, Benny. You're looking at him. You can see him there. Yeah. You and I do not talk about anything going into this. 12th hole. I've got 3 guys written down for top 40s. The first 2 were teammates in the Zurich Classic. I think they're very similar players, and I think their games set up really well for Colonial. David Lipsky and Aaron Rai. The third one, good. Kurt Kitayama. I've got him written down right here. Played well at sectional qualifying. He's had 2 top 5 finishes in his last 5 or 6 starts. He's a little bit of an all or nothing, kind of like Chris Kirk, in that in his last 6-7 starts, he's had 4 really good ones, 3 where he didn't reach the weekend. But for a top 40 play at that price, I don't mind taking a shot on him whatsoever. So yes, you and I are absolutely on the same page with that one.
Beauty. All right, 13th hole then. I'll crack along. Top 5 play. I like the idea of this guy, again, someone who popped up every now and then on the coverage last week at the PGA. He's close to that 36-year-old age. He's 35 at the moment. He's had 10. This will be his 10th appearance at the Charles Schwab Challenge, and he's right on the cusp of being getting a place in the US Open. He's had 6 top 25s at Colonial since 2015. Brian Harman, plus 1,100 for a top 5. Brian Harman, I'm all over that, to be honest. I think that he is potentially he could win. He could win this thing. He's just not in my era, but top 5 at 1,100, I love it.
Oh, Benny. He can win. What? He can win this thing, which is why I'm going to wait a few holes to mention Brian Harman.
There you go.
You and I are absolutely on the same page with this stuff. All right, before we get there, I will start off the 14th hole. I've got a 3-ball matchup on DraftKings this week. A couple of little fades for me. There's not a whole lot that I'm trying to fade out there this week, but Daniel Berger was not good last week. I don't know what's going on. 2020 champ at Colonial. He was 13 over through 2 rounds at Southern Hills. It was more putter than the other 13 clubs, but still, he's a fade for me until we see him turn things around. And then Sungjae Im is straight off having COVID. He traveled overseas. He was playing an international event, got COVID, was out of the PGA Championship, is back in this week. I haven't heard yet whether it was symptomatic, asymptomatic. I don't know how he's feeling or what he's into right now, whether he's playing and practicing over the last few weeks or not. But I'm going to fade Berger and him in a 3-ball and take Talor Gooch at plus 175 against them.
Okay. Well, we agree to disagree here.
Oh, what you got?
Because my next play on top 20 is one international superstar, Sungjae Im. Coming rested off COVID, actually quite fine, playing very well.
Okay.
From all reports out of my international connections. But you're just, that doesn't mean I'm saying top 20. So maybe Gooch will be top 10. like
Okay,
whatever.
we can both win. I like
Yeah, we
that.
can both go there. Look, 130 for a top 20. He didn't go through the rigors of the major week. He was T10 in 2020 at Colonial. And I'm going to put the caveat on it here, though. It's just what I'm hearing from people in my circle that, oh, no, he's fine. He's fine. That could easily be just agent, managers speak, etc. Right? He could be very tired. I'm not on the ground. I'm not watching him. But small outlay, plus 130, top 20. I'll take their word for it. I'm not going to be mad if everybody takes your advice and goes the other way, because I haven't seen it with my own eyes.
I tell you what, Benny, that could be more valuable for DFS than anything else. We were trying to get an edge, get a contrarian player. I think people might be a little scared off Sungjae coming off the WD last week. And so
there you go.
Might be a smart play there. 16th hole, the final hole at Colonial Country Club. It's not an easy hole, 441 yard par 4. And yet that's not that long for these guys. 2 of the last 3 winners birdied that hole. Daniel Berger in 2020 and Kevin Na in 2019. For the winner to birdie the 72nd hole, they don't have to birdie it and win on that hole. They just have to, they could be up 6.
Make a bird. Yeah.
It could be somebody coming from behind, whatever it is. But for the winner to birdie the 72nd hole on Sunday afternoon, yes, plus 400. That seems like a really good number when it's happened 2 of the last 3 years.
That is a big number. That's it. Yeah. Look, it obviously nerves are a factor always on the 72nd hole, but also you've just got the facts that someone might need to birdie and is going to play it nice and aggressive and it's going to take a crack.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good number. You're 100% right on it being a good number. It's not like an all-in play or whatever, but it's definitely a good number to look at.
Yeah.
All right. 17th hole. My outright winner, number 1 choice. 4,000 plus 4,000. 31 years of age. Not quite up near the 36. 5th appearance. Not quite the 6th appearance. The thing that
pretty close.
The trend is, getting pretty there. Close. Inside the top 10 last week at the PGA Championship. Also had a chance maybe on Sunday if he could have kept some sort of roll going. Hasn't missed a cut at Colonial ever. T14 the last 2 times there. Abraham Ancer is my man. Abraham Ancer is going to find his rhythm. Going to get rid of that frustration. He's going to take out of what Justin Thomas was able to do and realize that, if I just kept my head on a little longer on Sunday, maybe I would have been in that playoff. Maybe I could have won that tournament instead of sort of letting the emotion get to him just that little bit early. I feel like there's a lot of guys learning that lesson this week. And I'm loving Abraham Ancer. He's obviously Mexican, just plays under the Mexican flag, but has strong Texas connections. So I love it.
Abraham Ancer, 9th place last week. He hadn't finished top 30 in a PGA Tour stroke play event all year before that. I do think he's on a little bit of an upswing right now, and he has played well at Colonial, as you said. My favorite play, for my favorite outright this week, it's a guy that you mentioned already. I alluded to it. Look, he didn't play great last week, but the ball striking numbers on the weekend were really good. He led the field in strokes gained on approach shots on Sunday in the final round. And he also made a ton of birdies over the last 36 holes.
Yeah.
He couldn't eliminate the mistakes, but at a place like Colonial, where he's got 3 top 10s, 6 top 25s, and 9 career starts, I expect Brian Harman to have a much better week. This is a guy, much like a few other players, like his old UGA buddy, Russell Henley, where the performances sort of outlasted the results recently. I expect there to be a good result at some point, just based on the fact that he's played really well for a really long time. This could be the week. Brian Harman looking to get back into the winner's circle for the first time in a long time. I like him at 65-1 outright, Benny.
Yeah, that's, as I said, look, I was pretty comfortable with that. He was in the short list for my 2 outright, choices for the pod. I settled with the 1100 or so at top 5. But again, like I said, I could absolutely see him winning. I could see that birdie on the 72nd hole for you, mate. Harman rushing one in from even just 5 feet and collecting it all. So I wish I could have an argument with you on him, but no, he looks good. He looks like he's trending exactly into this tournament and into this golf course.
I certainly hope so. It's one of the things, if you read my preview at the Action Network or golf bet that I'm looking at is the metric of final round ball striking from Southern Hills, which again, it's a Perry Maxwell design. They're going to another Perry Maxwell design this week at Colonial. They're hardly the same courses, but there are definitely some similarities in there. So I'm looking for a little correlation there. This has been a lot of fun this week. For Ben Everill, I'm Jason Sobel. Thanks to everybody out there for listening. Remember, you can listen to the Links and Locks podcast anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Download, subscribe, listen, and rate us every single week. Good luck with all your plays for this week's Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial. Here's hoping you hit the green.